The air was charged with laughter and the clink of glasses as Alex and I raised our own in the middle of our favorite local haunt, celebrating 5 years of what felt like a fairy tale. To us, he said, his eyes sparkling with the kind of love you read about in novels, but rarely see in real life. Our friends, a motley crew of souls we'd gathered over the years, cheered in agreement, their faces a blur of genuine affection and admiration for what we had built together. The weekend following our anniversary, we escaped to a cabin tucked away in the mountains, a cozy retreat from the world. It was there, surrounded by the quiet of nature and the warmth of a crackling fire, that I handed Alex a surprise I'd been working on for months. A handmade photo album filled with snapshots of our adventures, our joys, and our life together. Flipping through the pages, his expression shifted from surprise to something deeper, more emotional. "Jess, this is us," he whispered, and in that moment, we were the only two people in the world. Our happiness seemed to multiply, spreading outwards like ripples in a pond, when we announced our plans to start a family at a backyard barbecue. Surrounded by family, the air filled with the smell of grilled food and the sound of laughter, we shared our next big adventure. The excitement was palpable, a shared joy that made the dream of expanding our family feel even more real. Alex's support was unwavering as I dove into launching my online boutique, a dream that had been simmering in the back of my mind since college. He was by my side, from brainstorming sessions at our kitchen table to celebrating the notification of my first sale. Our partnership was a testament to our love, blending romance with the thrill of building something together. Our home became a melting pot of cultures and cuisines as we hosted a dinner party for our friends, an eclectic group from various walks of life. The evening was a reflection of us, open, warm, and inviting. It was a testament to our life together, filled with laughter, stories, and the sharing of dreams. Life, however, has a way of introducing chapters you never planned on writing. My new fitness regime at a local gym was supposed to be about health and meeting new people, but it became something more when I met Marco. He was the charismatic trainer who seemed genuinely interested in my well-being, our casual chats soon evolving into something that felt dangerously like flirting. Coffee outings with Marco became my escape, a space where I could vent about stresses and ambitions. He listened in a way that made me feel seen, his easy charm and understanding nature drawing me in. It was a connection that felt exhilarating, yet filled with an undercurrent of guilt. I told myself it was harmless, but deep down, I knew I was treading dangerous waters, drifting further from Alex with each shared confidence and laugh. This chapter of our lives was supposed to be about building, growing, and loving. Yet, here I was, caught in the gravity of something that threatened to unravel everything we had cherished. The urgency of my choices, the intensity of my actions, and the immediacy of their consequences were about to set in motion a series of events that could not be undone. The minute Alex questioned my late nights from the gym, I could feel the walls closing in. "You're really into this new fitness kick, huh?" he asked, his voice laced with a hint of confusion, maybe concern. I brushed him off with a laugh that sounded more hollow than I intended. "Yeah, just need some me time, you know?" But the guilt was gnawing at me, a relentless reminder of the line I was dancing dangerously close to crossing. It was at a gym event, amidst the buzz of competition and camaraderie, that Marco and I shared a moment we couldn't take back, a kiss that should have never happened. The guilt hit me like a truck, yet part of me was exhilarated, addicted to the thrill of the forbidden. Marco's texts started coming in, each one a siren call I couldn't resist. I found myself diving deeper into the lie, telling Alex I was with friends or working late, anything to steal moments with Marco. The day Alex found the hotel receipt was the day my world started to crumble. His eyes, filled with hurt and disbelief, were a punch to the gut. "Jess, what is this?" His voice cracked, and so did my resolve. The confession poured out of me, messy and tear-streaked, begging for forgiveness I wasn't sure I deserved. Alex's suggestion of couples therapy was a lifeline, a chance at redemption I clung to, despite the distance between us growing more palpable by the day. Therapy sessions were like navigating a minefield, uncovering issues we'd buried under years of love and routine. I wanted to fix us, I really did. But Marco's shadow loomed over every attempt, his messages a constant temptation. When I finally decided to end things with Marco, spurred by a particularly raw therapy session that reminded me of all Alex and I had built together, I thought it would be a clean break. I was wrong. Marco didn't take it well, his texts and calls a barrage I couldn't escape. Each ding of my phone was a reminder of the mess I'd made, a web of lies and betrayal that had ensnared not just me, but the man I had vowed to love and cherish. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was fighting to save my marriage while simultaneously dodging the advances of the man I'd almost thrown it all away for. The intensity of my reality was suffocating, a constant battle between guilt, desire, and the hope for forgiveness. Alex and I were on a precipice, and I was desperately trying to pull us back from the edge, even as part of me wondered if I'd already let go. The moment I turned the key in the lock, leaving behind the home I shared with Alex, my heart was pounding with a mix of fear and exhilaration. Stepping into Marcos' world felt like diving into uncharted waters, thrilling yet terrifying. This is it, I whispered to myself, a declaration more of defiance than confidence. I was making a choice for happiness, or so I thought. The early days with Marco were like living in a bubble. Every touch, every shared smile felt charged with the promise of something new and intoxicating. But as weeks turned into months, the bubble began to show its cracks. Marco's charming demeanor gradually gave way to possessiveness, a side of him I hadn't seen, or perhaps hadn't wanted to see. Our cozy dinners and late-night talks turned into silent meals and accusations whenever I reached out to old friends or spent too much time outside. "Where were you?" became a daily interrogation, the warmth in his eyes replaced by suspicion. Then came the morning I couldn't deny the truth staring back at me from the pregnancy test. My hands trembled, holding the evidence of a new life that carried with it a question mark as big as the ocean. Was it Alex's or Marcos? The thought of finding out, of making it real with a paternity test, filled me with dread. How could I face either of them with the answer? In my heart, a part of me yearned for Alex, for the stability and love we once shared. I reached out, a feeble attempt to bridge the chasm my departure had created. But his responses were polite, distant, a clear sign he was moving on, healing from the wounds I'd inflicted. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Jess," he texted back one day, a simple message that felt like a door quietly closing. Marcos' indifference to the pregnancy was a cold splash of reality. His initial excitement faded as quickly as it had appeared, leaving me to navigate doctor's appointments and future plans alone. "It's your thing," he'd say, more interested in his phone than our conversations. The isolation crept in, a constant companion whispering reminders of my folly. My boutique, once a source of pride and joy, suffered the most. Orders went unfilled, messages unanswered. The vibrant community I'd built around my dream crumbled as my personal life spiraled. Negative reviews piled up, each one a stab at my already fragile sense of self. The realization hit hard, I'd lost more than just a husband. I'd lost myself, my passion, my direction. Sitting alone in the small room that Marco called his study, I couldn't help but wonder how everything that once seemed so right could turn so wrong. The excitement, the thrill of the affair, had evaporated, leaving behind a stark, uncomfortable truth. I was alone, adrift, and pregnant, with a future as uncertain as the paternity of my child. The walls of my new reality were closing in, each day a reminder of the cost of chasing a mirage. The moment I sat down to crunch the numbers, I knew I was in trouble. The boutique, once my pride and joy, was hemorrhaging money, and my personal savings were dwindling fast. Marco's promises of support were as sporadic as his presence, leaving me to fend for myself more often than not. I missed Alex terribly in those moments, not just for the financial stability he provided, but for the partnership we shared. It was a stark contrast to the uncertainty I was living with now. In a moment of sheer desperation, I reached out to Alex. My message was a veiled plea for help, an attempt to bridge the chasm of silence that had grown between us. His response was kind, yet firm, a gentle refusal to be pulled back into my chaos. "I wish you well, Jessica, but you need to figure this out on your own." His words were a sobering reminder of the consequences of my choices. The loneliness of my situation hit me full force at my first prenatal class. Surrounded by couples, I felt the absence of a supportive partner acutely. As I listened to the instructor talk about the importance of a support system during pregnancy, the weight of my reality settled heavily on my shoulders. I had lost so much more than I had anticipated: my husband, my business, and somewhere along the line, my self-respect. Marco's dwindling interest only compounded my feelings of isolation. His nights out became more frequent, leaving me alone to navigate the complexities of pregnancy. The man I had left my husband for was slowly showing his true colors, and the reality of impending fatherhood seemed to only drive him further away. Determined to claw my way back to some semblance of control, I launched a clearance sale for my boutique, hoping to clear out inventory and maybe, just maybe, spark some interest in my flailing business. The response was lukewarm at best, a stark reminder of the neglect my dream had suffered during my tumultuous personal life. The routine checkup at the doctor's office was a harsh confrontation with my new normal. Answering the doctor's questions about the baby's father and my support system, I couldn't hold back the tears. I was utterly alone, a reality that had seemed unimaginable just a few months ago. The final blow came when I heard through the grapevine that Marco had been seen with other women. The irony wasn't lost on me. I, who had once been the other woman, was now on the receiving end of betrayal. The pain of that realization was sharp, a bitter pill to swallow as I faced the consequences of my actions. Each day, the reality of my situation became clearer. I was alone, pregnant, and struggling to hold onto the remnants of a life I once knew. The dreams I had chased so recklessly had led me here, to a place of profound loneliness and regret. The journey ahead was uncertain, each step forward a reminder of the past I had left behind and the future I was uncertain I could rebuild. The moment Marco's words hit me, "You'd be better off elsewhere," I felt like the ground beneath me had crumbled. His face was devoid of the affection that once drew me in, replaced with a cold indifference that stung worse than any confrontation we'd ever had. I stood there, numb, the reality of my situation crashing down around me. Pregnant, alone, and now unwelcome in what I thought was my new beginning. Scrambling to find a place to live, I faced rejection after rejection. Landlords hesitated at my single, soon-to-be mother status and my shaky financial situation. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had left a stable home, chasing a mirage that evaporated the moment reality set in. Finally, I found a small, run-down apartment that took me in, a stark contrast to the life I once proudly called mine. Selling most of my belongings just to afford the rent and basic necessities felt like tearing pages out of my own story, each item a reminder of dreams I'd let slip through my fingers. Reaching out to old friends was a humbling experience. The silence and avoidance I met were louder than any apology I could muster. The few who did respond did so with a politeness that was thinly veiled with disapproval and disappointment. I had become an outsider, a creator of my own misfortune, navigating the consequences of decisions that now seemed so misguided. The birth of my child was a whirlwind of emotions. Holding my baby for the first time, I felt an overwhelming love and protectiveness, a fierce determination to provide and make things right. Yet, the joy was tinged with sadness, a profound loneliness and the palpable absence of a partner to share in the beauty of the moment. When I received a gift from Alex, a beautiful, soft blanket for our baby, the gesture brought me to tears. It was a symbol of what we had lost, a kindness from the man I had hurt deeply, a reminder of the life and family we could have built together. Reviving my boutique became my next battleground, a way to claw back some semblance of control and independence. But the damage to my reputation and the challenges of balancing new motherhood with rebuilding a business were daunting. The lukewarm response to my efforts was disheartening, a stark reminder of the trust and goodwill I had squandered. Each day presented a new struggle, from the loneliness that enveloped me to the financial pressures that seemed insurmountable. Yet, with each small victory, whether it was a successful sale or a peaceful night's sleep for my baby, I found a sliver of hope. The path I had chosen was fraught with hardship, but it was mine to walk. The love for my child was a beacon, guiding me through the darkest moments, reminding me of the strength I had within to rebuild and to find redemption, not for the sake of what was lost, but for the future I was determined to create for us. The day the divorce papers landed on my doorstep, it felt like my entire world came crashing down with the thud of that envelope. It was official. Alex and I were no more. The ink on those documents signified the end of a chapter, the death of a partnership I once held dear. I was now a single mother, navigating the murky waters of a future I never anticipated. Marco's departure from our lives was as abrupt as his entrance had been intoxicating. The realization that he would not be a part of our baby's life hit me harder than I expected. There I was, left to face the responsibilities of parenthood alone, without the man I'd risked everything for. The irony wasn't lost on me. The loneliness was palpable, my days blending into nights in a monotonous cycle of feeding, changing, and soothing my baby, with my own needs constantly taking a backseat. The once thrilling affair with Marco felt like a distant, bitter dream, leaving behind a reality filled with struggle and remorse. In the silence of those long, sleepless nights, I found myself reflecting on the choices that led me here. The magnitude of my downfall weighed heavily on me, a mix of guilt and a desperate yearning for redemption. Yet, the path to forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness, seemed shrouded in darkness. Seeking a sliver of hope, I joined a local support group for single mothers. Sitting in a circle, sharing stories of hardship and resilience, I found a sense of community I hadn't realized I was missing. It was a small step, but it felt like the first in the right direction. But life, as it often does, threw another curveball. The relentless pace of single motherhood, coupled with the stress of financial insecurity, took a toll on my health. Doctor's visits became yet another line item on a budget stretched thin, a stark reminder of the costs of my decisions. Determined to build a better future for my child, I turned to online courses, clinging to the hope that education could be our ticket out of this cycle of despair. Each lesson completed during nap times was a tiny victory, a beacon of light in the overwhelming darkness. But just as I dared to dream of stability, my baby fell ill, landing us in the hospital. The fear and helplessness of that experience were unlike anything I'd ever known. Surrounded by the clinical efficiency of hospital staff, I was starkly reminded of the support system I'd squandered. Each of these moments, from the crushing finality of the divorce to the fragile health of my child, served as a harsh lesson in consequences and resilience. My journey through the depths of despair to the tentative steps towards rebuilding was a testament to the strength I didn't know I possessed. Amidst the chaos of my choices, I found a resolve to forge a new path, not just for me, but for the innocent life thrust into my turbulent world. The day started like any other, with the mundane tasks of motherhood and the heavy weight of loneliness. But then, an unexpected email lit up my screen, a beacon of hope in the endless sea of bills and overdue notices. It was from a former customer, someone who had always believed in my boutique's vision, offering freelance work related to my niche. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start, a chance to claw my way back from the brink. Maybe this is it, I thought, a flicker of optimism breaking through the clouds of despair. Fueled by this small victory, I decided to channel my experiences into something tangible. I started a blog, a raw and honest account of my journey as a single mother and struggling entrepreneur. To my surprise, it resonated with people, garnering a small but engaged following. Each comment, each share, felt like a validation of my struggles and a step towards reclaiming my voice. As the seasons changed, so did my fortunes. Slowly but surely, my boutique began to see a revival. Orders trickled in, then flowed. My blog's audience expanded, bringing with it opportunities I had never dared to dream of. I was still miles from where I wanted to be, but for the first time in a long while, progress felt real. But life, as always, had other plans. My landlord's notice of rent increase was a cold splash of reality, a reminder of the precariousness of my situation. Finding a new home, affordable yet safe for my child, consumed me. The stress was overwhelming, but when we finally settled into our new space, I transformed it into a sanctuary for us. It wasn't much, but it was ours, a warm, welcoming space that reflected our journey and resilience. Then came a letter from Alex. His words, full of hope and kindness, offered a sense of closure I hadn't realized I needed. He wished happiness and stability for our child, a sentiment that echoed my own desires. Though our paths had diverged, his goodwill was a balm to my soul, a sign that maybe, just maybe, we could both find peace. Watching my child play in our modest living room, the reality of my situation hit me. I was a single mother, navigating the complexities of life and parenthood alone. Yet, as I observed the innocent laughter and joy, I was reminded of my own strength and determination. I had come so far, endured so much, and I was still standing, still fighting for a better future for us both. The unexpected return of Marco tested every ounce of my resolve. His sudden interest in being a part of our child's life was a curveball I hadn't anticipated. But as he stood before me, making promises I knew he couldn't keep, something within me hardened. This was my life, my child, and I would not let him waltz back in and wreak havoc on the stability we had fought so hard to achieve. No, I said firmly, a single word that was a declaration of my independence, my strength, and my refusal to go back to the person I once was. In that moment, standing my ground against Marco, I realized the depth of my transformation. I was no longer the woman who had left everything for a fleeting fantasy. I was a mother, an entrepreneur, a survivor. My journey had been tumultuous, filled with mistakes and heartache, but also growth and resilience. As Marco walked away, I knew this wasn't just an end but a beginning. A chance to build a future on my terms, filled with hope and the promise of something